Hey, 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 my friends. This is kind of a little bit of an impromptu live, but Jennifer Randall and I were on our weekly call and we started having a conversation. And I thought, you know what? This actually needs to be extended to our industry, to our community. And so we decided that, you know what? We're just going to jump on live here with everybody and kind of continue this conversation. So if you're joining us, say hello, let us know that you're here. If you come back in on the replay, we want to know that as well. So just drop a little hashtag replay, let us know, and we will continue the conversation with you. But we really thought that this was something, that we need to talk about. What's the difference between conferences and a true retreat? And so I'm going to bring Jennifer in real quick. And that way we can continue this conversation. Hey, long time no see. No, we were literally talking together a minute.
It's been a couple minutes.
It's been just a couple minutes. So we were having this conversation because you and I both visit retreats, retreats and conferences. We go to both. Inside our industry and even outside of our industry. You and I both believe in investing in support and coaching, curriculum, those sort of things. And sometimes with that, it comes with a conference that you get to go to or a retreat that you get to go to. And so, but there is big differences.
Yeah.
Right. And so what have been your takeaways from being present at both? What do you feel like is different? Are they different audiences? Let's start to just talk through this and what you're.
I think we were talking about this earlier, but I think for me, one of the biggest things, and I'm a conference junkie. Like it really, there should be like a support group really
I think there probably is one somewhere.
For me. Like it's that bad. It's that bad. So even when I owned the studio, right, I would go to all these conferences. I was going in with the mindset of I'm going to get all this information and I can't wait to go home and implement it. And there's all this stuff. Well, I mean, after like 4 or 5 years, you quickly learn I'm never going home to implement any of this stuff because I just have notebooks full of all kinds of stuff. So it quickly turns into, you don't want to be like harsh, but it turns into a really expensive socialization trip. Where I get to have fun and I get to socialize with all my friends and commiserate, if you will, with my studio owner friends. But I don't really take back anything. I mean, I may have retained a little bit, but whether or not that gets implemented or not is still to be seen. I don't know. I mean, but I do it with everything. So like San Diego is coming up. I'm going to work there, but then I'm also staying and going to a conference of my own for like social media marketing. And this one's actually going to be good because I don't know anyone. So I'm going to be taking away things, right? And hopefully implementing things. But there is a big difference between an actual conference and a retreat where I do get to spend time with people in my community, people who get me, but I also am going home with things completely done. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that also, I have walked the walk. I invest in coaching and support for me to move to the next level, to be also able to bring back to our communities, like what is happening outside our bubble when it comes to things like marketing or, customer journey, or like there's all sorts of different things. And each conference or retreat that I attend has a different theme, or niche, but I agree with you in that sometimes you can go to these conferences and it's overwhelming in a way, in that, I am an extrovert. Like there is no denying that I will sit there and gab and gab and gab. It doesn't feel awkward to me. Like, I love it. I'll just talk all day long if you let me. But even so, energetically, after a conference, I feel depleted, whether I'm presenting or I am an attendee, because of the amount of information that's being thrown at you and not time to digest it fully. It's like you try to like shove all this food in your face and then you're like, ugh, right? Like you got the bloat. But it's the same thing. Like we're consuming all of this content, but we're not actually implementing anything or figuring out how it's applicable to us in our particular situation. And so I'll leave feeling like, oh, depleted. And then, I don't know where to start, right? When it comes to conferences. When I started attending retreats through different coaches that I've worked with, what I found was they, by definition, were an actual retreat in that they were a place to retreat. They were quiet, secluded, smaller groups, where you had people who were your peers that understood you, got you, but there was time built in to actually get the work done while you were there. So when you got back, you're like, oh my gosh, like this was such a valuable use of my time, right? I filled up my cup with my community. I got to I learned new things because I was in a room with a small amount of people, an intimate group of, 10 or under. And so we could bounce ideas off each other. We could talk things through, but there was no judgment. There was no feeling like you had to present yourself. It was just you being you and like vulnerable and real, but getting to learn from people who were next level, right? Getting in those rooms with the people who are, ahead of you, and having that time, and then having a touch of like, I'm going to just say it, a little bit of luxury that maybe we don't give ourselves on the regular, a little self-care, a little bit of adventure, a little bit of fun. And so this is where there's a huge difference. And I'm not saying don't go to conferences. Jen and I both love conferences.
I love conferences. I am 100% an introvert, so that's probably why Erin and I get along so well. Except for when it comes to conferences, and I have zero responsibilities, and I just go a little wild. And then I'm not gonna lie, I'm recovering for the next like 4 or 5 days. Doesn't really happen at retreats.
It is literally time for you to rest and relax, learn, get some shiz done.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm not trying to make a vacation out of something that's not a vacation. So I think that is why we have this, I'm going to a conference. And then we add on like extra days on the front end or back end, and we come back even more exhausted than we were when we left because we're trying to make it something that it's not.
Okay. I love that you mentioned that, because I think that it's so true. I'm going to just say it. It gives you an excuse.
Yeah.
To take a vacation, or it makes you feel like you don't have to, like defend or convince people that it's work related.
I mean, I would challenge anyone to be like, what did you come back and implement? Like, if you went to a conference in the last 6 months, what have you taken away from that conference and implemented 100%?
Let us know, friends, in the comments if you have been to a conference in the last 6 months or even a year. My goodness, y'all, let's be for real. There's a lot of summer conferences. Well, I guess that would fall within the 6 months.
Yeah.
But what have you implemented, and I'm going to say it, seen a return on your investment in the last 6 months? And when I say return on investment, I mean return on financial investment, return on your time investment, right? That you couldn't have done in another setting.
Interesting.
Jen's like, so my friends, we did announce we announced the location for the 2024 Dance Studio Owners Business Retreat. Jen, where are we going?
We're going to Australia.
So we're going to Australia November, y'all, the beginning of November, November 3rd through 8th. Gold Coast, we are so lucky because we have lined up some amazing guest speakers. Yes, okay. There was a comment here, and I think that it's worth sharing, is that I feel like I always take away one or two tidbits from every conference. I leave with lots of ideas, but too many to process. And so, yes, we always will walk away. And this is why I say conferences are valuable. Please don't be like, Erin's a conference hater.
I love conferences.
I love them. And I think we always will walk away one or two tidbits, or you might have a lot of different ideas happening up here of like, oh, but then how do we actually roll them out? What is the strategy behind them, and how does it work for you? And so I think that's where sometimes we have a little bit where the problem lies is, and I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Jen and I are both presenters at conferences, right? And Jen, when you present a session and you have 45 minutes or an hour to do so on a topic, do you feel like you can really dive deep inside of that 45 minutes or hour?
No. I mean, yes, I could dive deep into one thing, but it's not going to get someone to go home and implement it, because unless you're taking the entire thing and watching it on replay and stopping it and going through, and yeah, I mean, no one's gonna go back and do that. You get the replays at all of these conferences, but
Right.
I've never ever went back and watched a replay and dove back into it.
Yeah,
I mean, I
100%.
could, but
It's available.
it's available, but it's just not gonna happen.
Right. Right. Well, because time is a limited resource. And we have to prioritize. And you're like, well, I heard that, but
I think when I'm speaking and I'm going to listen to people speak, I'm thinking of it as kind of like an infomercial, or like or like I'm watching like QVC. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was like a thing when my babies were little and I was up all night watching QVC. Like every 7 minutes, there's like the most amazing new product.
Right.
And that's kind of like how I feel like a speaker is at conferences. Like, I want to see what you have that's the most amazing new product that I need to dive into. And which one of these am I going to dive into first?
That's a good analogy. I really think that's a really good reference point, because I would agree with you. And as a presenter and speaker, you don't know where everyone's at in the room. So, you're trying to meet people where they're at across many different
which is
stages
completely unrealistic. Like, you can't meet everyone where they're at. So you have to go in and go, okay, where are most people at? And what can they take away from it? Which cannot be done. You can do it at a retreat. You can't do it at a conference.
100%. And this is why when we are crafting, these retreats, it's a proven system. We intentionally don't take 25 people, right? Even we are like, no, we're going to take, 8, we're going to take 10, because we know what needs to be done in the room and what we want to accomplish. And we can't do that at scale. You can't meet everybody where they're at when you have 100 people inside of a ballroom. You just can't. So that is what I love and what I'm so excited about for Australia in November, because we have the most amazing lineup of industry leaders. We have some Aussie guest speakers. We've got Stacey Morgan. We've got Simone Cattell from Tiny Tutus. Like the next level, getting yourself in the room where people who are either, above, not above you, but you know what I mean, who have done the thing, who are walking the path a little bit ahead of you. Hearing their insights is always great. And we've just stacked it in a way, and we've created this flow in our itinerary that allows for rest, relaxation, learning, implementation time, and a little bit of fun and vacation that you need, right? So some experiences, we've crafted some experiences that are bucket list experiences for people. And so I think that it's just going to be really, really amazing. So my friends, we had opened the wait list, and we've had already some friends jump in. Like I said, there was only 8 spots for this retreat to start with. And we've had Amber jumped in. We're so excited to have Amber joining us in Australia. It's going to be so, so good. But what that means for y'all is starting on, I don't even know what day it is. Starting on Thursday, the 1st, right? That's the 1st? It is. On February 1st, we will be releasing and opening it up. And so if you are interested in learning more about the Dance Studio Owners Business Retreats, drop the word retreat below. Even if you come in on the replay, and Jennifer or I will reach back out to you and talk to you about it, give you a little more information, and you can decide if it's the best fit for you. Now, we will be coming back on periodically and talking about the retreat and what we have to offer, different little topics, but we're having this conversation today, and I thought, let's just go ahead and jump on. So we will let y'all know when we will be coming on in for round 2 of this discussion about retreats and what is different about this one coming up for you. So, Jen, any other last words about conferences versus retreats?
No, I don't think so.
I know. I'm like, let me think about it.
Well, I think my thing just recently, and I love reading. So if you guys haven't read this book, it's called 10X is Easier Than 2X.
Good book.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
It's really good. But this is kind of like, if you're reading it, doing this thing kind of seems like it's out of it would be too much to do. Like you're like, oh, I just can never do that. But I would challenge you to be like, why not? Like doing the same thing every single day is hard. We're exhausted. But what would happen if you actually did just be like, okay, how much is a plane ticket? Oh, that's probably less than what I'm paying in payroll for a month, right? Like, how do we compare those things that we think are really big things and they're out of our scope to do to things we're doing every day and make it not out of reach? Anyway, that's my 2 bits.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And to that point, I am a firm believer that everything is figure outable, and that it's all, the power lies in the decision, right? So the decision that, okay, this is something that I feel called to, that, is speaking to me, but fear is kind of creeping in and telling me all the reasons, the excuses why I can't do this.
Yeah.
So
maybe that should be our next one.
Ooh, okay. That's a great idea. Maybe we will come in and really dive into that. My point is, real quick, to just tie it up with the bow, is to Jen's point, is then what needs to happen, right? If you say, oh, well, it's a little out of my reach, or, or I don't know if I can afford, well, what would you need to make it possible? Is it 1 more student? Is it 3 more students? Right? I did this when I was like, you know what? I need support in my home as far as a housekeeper and, a yard maintenance and all of that sort of thing. I'm like, how much, what does that mean to me? What does that equate to? Oh, I could pay for that with 1 more client. And then I was like, oh, this isn't really that out of reach. That's easy.
Mhm.
Right. But we tell ourselves different stories. And so thank you for bringing that up. I think that that's a great point. And yeah, the next time we can dive really deep into these ideas of the why now and
Yeah.
and why it's possible, because we get to choose if it's possible. So all right, my friends, if you would like more information on the Dance Studio Owners Business Retreat, just drop the word retreat below. Jen and I will reach out to you and give you all the details and see if it is a good fit for you. But I could tell you that it's going to be just delightful. It's going to be dreamy. And when everyone is sitting here saying it's freezing cold and having snowstorms and all of the craziness, we'll be on a beach in the warmth, because that's what it will be on the
I'm gonna
Gold
go work on my beach bod.
Yeah. Oh, your beach bod is fine. All right, my friends, I'm going to leave you there. I hope that you guys all have a fantastic week. Let us know if you come back in on the replay, because we want to know. And we hope to be able to share with you some differences in the reasons why we decided to bring this to our industry, because it is needed, my friends. So I'm going to leave you there. Bye, Jen. You and I will talk later, because as we do. And yeah, we will see you all very, very soon. Bye, guys.